we're continuing with the hips. If your hips move well, odds are a lot of other things will start to kind of figure it out on their own. But very often, because our hips are so close to our center of mass, if there's dysfunction here, it's going to trickle out. I'm going to have dysfunction elsewhere as well. Hips might not be the one complaining, but this could be the cause. So let's get into your hips. Last time we talked about getting hip extension, getting into these hip flexors and making them stretch. I want to look at the hip as a whole now. There are 6 actions of the hip. We have flexion, extension, we have adduction, abduction. We also have external rotation and internal rotation. And I'm talking about not just what this bone is doing, but how this bone is interacting with your pelvis. So this can get a little nuanced, don't worry about the terminology, but these motions can really help translate and integrate how your hip moves with the rest of your body. So first we're going to do this all with the hands on the hips, but then we can add the hands in. So one of these we've already kind of done before, and that's our backwards to forward. So I'm just going to start just like we did with getting into the hip flexors. I was preparing you for this moment, and then we can add our arms in. So when I step back, I can swing back, and when I step forward, I can swing up. This is just going to create an integration. So my foot, my knee, my hip, my lower back, my mid back, my upper back, my shoulder, all the way up, there has to be communication. I can do the same thing on the other side. For now, I'm just going to keep with right leg base for the sake of the video, but you get the idea. So now I'm going to go laterally. Now before I was kind of, in the last video, we were going back and across. This is going to go primarily west to east. So I'm stepping with this left foot. I'm shifting my pelvis to the left. I'm almost dropping this down. You'll notice that my pelvis is sloped. I can create a stretch through the inner thigh here. And then when I come across the opposite way and I'm shifting more laterally than forward, I can create more of this lateral flexion. So when we add the hands in, the hands are going to come up and over to up and over. Now, if you've been following along, this kind of starts to look like what we were doing with the thoracic spine. Well, very good, because it is. We want to create this integration of motion, okay? So now we can also do the same thing in the transverse plane. So that transverse plane is rotation. So if I start out, open, closed. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek at what's going on with my feet here. When I come open, feet are almost at about 90 degrees. When I come closed, they're still at 90 degrees, more or less. But it's toe to toe, heel to heel. Okay, so now we can add the arms into this as well. And just so we can interlock our thumbs, we're trying to keep the arms nice and straight. And I can do this up tall. I can do this down low. Try it out, feel it out, see what works for you, see what feels good. If I come open, the idea is we're opening up the groin of the base leg, the inner thigh, the adductors of the plant leg. When I come closed, it's the abductors. It is the lateral hip structures that we're trying to create stretch reflexes through. So your hips they can do a lot. There's 6 actions, 3 planes of motion, both ends of each spectrum. So this is a nice, quick, easy one. We can go backwards, forwards. We can go lateral, crossover. We can go open and close. Within that, we're hitting so many different joint angles in all 3 planes of motion. It's one of my favorite go-tos. It can take a little bit of time to learn. However, if you can get this, it's going to change everything, all right? If you're having difficulty with stability, we can do the same thing. If I'm going to have my right foot as my base foot, left hand can go on the wall. I can step back with my left foot and forward with my left foot. With my left hand on the wall, this gives me a little stability. I can go lateral and crossover, left foot stepping, right hand swinging, and I can also go open and closed with my left hand on the wall. Try these out. See what you're noticing, see what you're feeling. The more we can integrate motion into these like short 5-minute things, when you come back and you start working, you should feel a little uplift. You should feel ready to take on that scene. All right? Let me know how you're doing in the comments. I hope to see you next time.